So yeah, we are right about now launching episode. It's going to be episode 6 of the Over the Hill podcast, and I'm really excited about my special guest today. Someone. It's the first time I've done a podcast where I'm actually sitting and having a conversation with someone that I've never met and I don't have any background with. It's also the first time I've had a singer-songwriter on the podcast, and it's also the first time that I've got someone on the podcast that I happen to also be a big fan of. Um, He's, as I say, he's a singer-songwriter. He's traveled the world, performed the world, not just on his own, but as part of one of my favorite acts, the House Gospel Choir. He's recently had releases with my friend Sy Sez, who's Over the Hill podcast alumni, and an absolutely massive recent release with house royalty, Sandy Rivera. I've got with me today his bit of truth, aka Raff. Mate, lovely to see you. How are you?
Hey, I'm good, man. What an intro. Jeez, no pressure.
Yeah. Hopefully he lives up to expectations. No, I know you will, man. It's just really great to actually have you on and be able to shoot the shit. That's kind of what the podcast is about, is me getting the opportunity to sit down with people I really like. So far it's been people that I'm friends with within this industry and other industries.
Wow.
And but yeah, now I'm finally here sitting with someone who I don't know. And yeah, I'm a little bit nervous myself for the first time on the podcast. So
Oh, don't be nervous. Don't be
So
nervous.
as we touched on in the intro there, you've just had the track with Sandy Rivera, um, and
Yeah.
you've been working with my friend Sy Sez. Have you always been into that sort of house music? Obviously, we know we'll get into house gospel choir as well, but has it always been house music, or was it more a sort of soul and that kind of music for you?
Yeah, so my kind of musical in, I guess, was very much soul, and then very much the kind of old soul, like Donny Hathaway and Stevie Wonder and Aretha Franklin, and that very much that really influenced how I write. As well as sing. And what always attracted me to that genre in the first place was just the passion and the energy and the actual soul of it, that you really connected to it. It wasn't just like a kind of sung la 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 melody. There was like that passion and those guts and those vocals that I was just like, what the, can I swear?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
She's like, what the fuck is this? I was like, wow. And it really blew me away. And that's always remained my kind of go-to and my kind of my roots, I guess. And then it wasn't until my early 20s, well, uni, I guess, so maybe like late teens, early 20s, that I kind of discovered house music through friends. Um and it really was more of the soulful vocal house. So again, it was still those big vocals, those like gospel vocals, big diva vocals that I was attracted to, because it was always the voice that gets me. And then it'd be like the piano riffs and then the bass and the rhythm and just that making you want to dance. And then Ibiza happened and discovered that whole thing, and I was like, wow. And yeah, got into the scene a bit up in Edinburgh, because I had a bar, late night bar that I ran with family, and I had lots of DJs and met people like Craig Smith up here, and Fleur, who runs Soul Heaven Records. And that's weirdly, like years later, then I'd connect with Sai, who would then, there's a connection there as well. And I saw people like Paul Trouble Anderson DJing and like jumping about behind the decks. And I was like, oh my God. And like Kenny Dope and all these amazing DJs. And then discovered all this other music that was still very much soulful for me. Um, and then along the way, discovered other types of house as well, which I still love. And I think for me, it's very much, I've got quite an eclectic taste in music, and I'm attracted to melody and vocal first and foremost, but then other stuff really gets me going, if it's like the rhythm or the bass or all these different elements that speak to me in different ways, that I'm always open to that. So I'm not someone who kind of closes myself off and go like, no, I'm strictly soul or I'm strictly this. It's like, there's pop stuff that I love, there's folk stuff that I love, jazz I really love, and all these different things. And I think as an artist as well, having your ears open in that way really educates you. That's how you learn. It's how you develop, because you kind of, well, for me anyway, I take like elements of that and in my performance or in my writing or in my kind of my voice and all these different things. It rolls up into one, so you're constantly developing and changing and fine tuning and things.
Yeah, absolutely. And I can totally relate to what you're saying. It's something I've often said throughout my DJ career. Me and Sai touched on it in episode 1 where I was talking about, we were talking about bandwagoners, and Sai's always been very true to one particular sound and just a slight deviation within that scene. Whereas, I mean, myself and several other DJs have jumped around. And one of the things that I always maintained whilst jumping around was I won't play anything that doesn't have a soul. And I didn't care whether it was house music, whether I was playing, old school R&B sets. I love my disco sets. That's like where I come alive. Um, but yeah, it's always soul. And I think for me, it was growing up with a dad who was a DJ who loved George Benson and some of the other artists that you referred to, Aretha Franklin, etc., and Donny Hathaway especially. So yeah, I can totally relate to that, man. So you say you grew up in Edinburgh.
Yes.
Yep. How long have you been sort of living around the rest of the UK? Because I read somewhere, I did try and do a little bit of research before we spoke. I read somewhere that you actually got a business degree at a university. Was it in Edinburgh?
Yeah, so actually I grew up just outside Edinburgh and then went to uni in Edinburgh Uni, and I've got a 2-1 honours degree in business, specialising in the psychology of business, and now I sing.
Excellent. So what made you make the change and sort of move across the rest of the UK?
So I got to the point where I was trying to do businessy stuff and I was trying to do musicy stuff at the same time, and then it got to the point where like something had to give, and I knew that I'd gotten as far as I could in Edinburgh with regards to my career, and I knew that if I wanted to kind of take it up a notch, I had to move to London. That was kind of where it was at, and I was really blessed to have these amazing opportunities here. Like I got to support like Carleen Anderson, I supported Marlena Shaw up here. I'm back in Edinburgh now, and these amazing achievements for me. There's this wee guy from outside Edinburgh, and like getting to support these amazing artists. But I just really wanted to level up, so I kind of took myself down and finally made the move. But I was really shy, so it took me, like, I didn't sing in public till I was like 21,
Wow.
I think. So yeah, I like at school and all that, like I never did the whole like, I was never in the shows. If I was like the narrator, or I did like, I was a goat or something like in the background. I was never like up front. I was just really, really shy. And but I just always wanted to sing. I had this passion. It was just me and my cousin knew that I could sing. So we would always like fantasize about doing all these things. And eventually I kind of bit the bullet, and I kind of went all in, and I ended up, the first time I sang in public was an audition for a TV show. um, for this talent show on TV way back in the day before X Factor and all these things, showing my age. And I rocked up, not having auditioned for anything in my life, and just was like, yeah, I'm here to sing. Didn't bring sheet music, wasn't prepared, didn't know what I was walking into, nothing. And I was just like, wow. I actually sang Connor Reeves' Earthbound. I don't know if you remember that tune.
Vaguely,
Way
yeah.
back in the day.
Yep.
But and randomly I ended up doing a gig where he was headlining. Yeah. You took me higher than I've ever been. Beautiful song. So I went in there like singing this, not obscure, but it wasn't like a mainstream song. And just threw myself into it. And then since then, like I ended up being a singing waiter and like kind of trial by fire, really, like just chucking myself into it, having no like performance experience and anything. And then went to Edinburgh, took myself down to London, and I was in London for 14 years, and it's been a ride. Like stuff,
Have
the
you
stuff.
been have you been just like touring and doing like gigs as well as working whilst you've been here and just trying to put things together? Has it just been one of those sort of typical journeys that you always hear about, as someone's just doing stuff, doing stuff, doing stuff until something clicks and then you suddenly find a groove?
Yeah, I mean, the weird thing for me is like I've never really planned. I've never been like, all right, my 5-year plan is this, and I'm going to do this, and then I'm going to do that. It's just not worked out that way for me. It's been one of those, I'm a grafter. I work really hard. I put in the work, and I'm passionate about what I do, and it's gotten me this far, which I'm really proud of. And you know, when I first moved down, I was working bar jobs and restaurants, and then I was doing my own original stuff at the time, strictly just doing originals. But then I kind of segued into doing like function bands and like being the wedding singer and all that kind of thing, just because I thought, right, let me try and make more money out of my voice, and then that'll free up time to write. And then I ended up like totally going left field and ended up getting swallowed into the world of like cabaret and burlesque and stuff through this job that I had. And suddenly I was like rewriting lyrics to old jazz standards and making them quite filthy and singing them with like this really trad jazz voice. And I was on stage in like nipple tassels and frilly knickers. Who knew? But it was all fun. It was all like part of like learning about performing, and it was like using my voice in a different way, performing in a different way, and meeting different people. And that's what excites me about it all. Like I just love the challenge of it all. Like I've done a bit of musical theater stuff. I've done, you know, big stadium stuff. I've done BVs. I've been up front. It all excites me, and it keeps me going, and it keeps life interesting. And it's, you know, I've always got my main thing of like, you know, I'm an artist and I want to write my own music and I want to put it out in whatever shape or form that is. But it's always exciting to me to try something new, try something different.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I think it's really important for any artist or, you know, anyone in any sort of musical field or even DJs, I'd say this to as well. I mean, I was a DJ for 15, 16 years, and I would say that do as much as you can when you can. So whether it's radio, whether it's, you know, playing at these, whether it's a warm up set in a crap bar, whether it's, you know, a wedding and you've got the equipment to do it, just do it, because at the end of the day, it's another string to your bow. You're going to learn more stuff, and you can put a little bit of everything that you've got into a product that, you know, in your case is now blooming quite nicely. And, you know, for other people, they could go down a similar path. It doesn't really matter what style of music or what genre you're into, or, you know, you could be anything, a guitar player, and I would recommend to do exactly the same thing. So it's great to hear you say. So you're in London and you're singing, you're all over the place. You know, you're learning, you're having fun from the sounds of things, especially with the nipple tassels. How did the link up come with House Gospel Choir?
So, you know, when you're a solo artist hustling, it's kind of lonely.
Yeah.
You're on your own, you know, you're doing your thing. And I was kind of really craving, I'd done a bit, like I said, like very briefly done a little bit of musical theater stuff, and I really enjoyed that, the camaraderie of it and the singing together aspect of it. And I'd never really done any choir stuff, like very briefly many years ago. And then a friend of a friend had told my mate about this choir that she'd heard about, and she joined, and it was like doing house music and gospel music. And we were like, oh, that just sounds amazing. Why wouldn't you want to do that? So she was like, oh, do you want to go? And I was like, yeah, cool, let's do it. And it was like an audition thing. We didn't really know much about it. And it transpired that it was literally around the corner from my house in Hackney. So I was like, oh, I've got no excuses really. And then my mate pulled out last minute, and I was like, I still, although I've done all this like performance stuff, you know, we flash forward and I'm doing all these gigs, I'm still quite a shy person. So put me into like a weird situation like that where I'm not really sure. I'm like, I don't know. So I just thought, fuck, I'm going to do it. So I went, and then, you know, flash forward, what was it now, 6-7 years, maybe 6 years, I don't remember now, many years.
Well, I've been going to their gigs for 5 years now. 2016, I think, was my first one, and I think you were there at the first one I went to. So yeah, it's definitely been a while.
Yeah, and then yeah, so at first it was just this amazing thing, and then my mate, flash forward, she ended up joining me, who's Lizzie Nightingale. So she ended up getting involved down the line, which was great. And what was I saying?
We were just saying that you were still quite shy and stuff before.
Oh,
And
so I went, and then yeah. So first of all, it was just this thing where it was like, you know, getting to sing in a choir and in harmony, and it was really amazing. And this group of people who were like, you know, beautiful energy, beautiful souls, and it just ended up sort of getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And suddenly, you know, I ended up getting a bigger role in it. I was helping out with kind of some sort of promo stuff at first, doing like videos for online and whatnot, and then that kind of progressed, and suddenly I was doing like vocal arrangements, and then I was leading the choir at times, and then that then developed. We'd start doing gospel brunch that I ended up taking on board, and I kind of developed that with Nat. and got involved with training as well. So it kind of grew and grew and became this huge thing. And it's culminated now into this. Released an album on Ireland last year, or the year before, last year.
Yeah, last year I think. Yeah.
I've got lockdown brain. Last year. So and now, literally last week, the special edition album came out, which is amazing. Got some awesome remixes and stuff. And yeah, the stuff that we've done together is just crazy, crazy, crazy.
Yeah,
It's been
it's been great to watch the progression. I was talking about it on episode 1 of the podcast with Sai, and he was saying how he met you guys when you came to My Soul and you did the
yeah,
show there and stuff. And I was tuned in because, as I said to him, like I've kind of, well, yourself, I've messaged you countless times over the last few years just to say hi. And I went to see you guys. I think it was Christmas 2016. It was a really small show, and it was when Shez was still the front woman,
mhm.
and it was in this little hotel lobby in just down by Mile End, I think it was. And my friend, I was going through some crap at the time, and
Yeah,
I was in a really bad way, and she was like, look, let's cheer you up, we'll go out and get some food, and then we'll go and see these guys. They're a house group, but they sing gospel style. And I was like, really? Because that sounds like a dream, like don't play with me. But we
Like,
went, and it
I
was
feel like
we went, and we were sitting down in this, like, as I say, it was like just a hotel foyer. But it was really intimate and just chill, and it wasn't like there was no real backing music. A lot of it was just keys and stuff, and it was incredible. And ever since then, I've just kind of, whenever I can, I've gone to different events. Jazz Cafe was a particular highlight a couple of years ago, for example. But for you, and I kind of get the feeling Glastonbury might get a mention here, but what was some of the bigger events for you, and some of the fondest memories traveling with those guys, and some, as I say, some of the biggest events that you've done?
let's start with Glastonbury then, since you mentioned it. I think Glastonbury was 2017, and we got to sing alongside Annie Mac, and I got given the task of singing a cappella in the middle of our set in front of about 12,000 people, 13,000, I can't remember how many were. When Doves Cry, Prince, and yeah, shit myself, really. I was like, how's this gonna go? And the way it happened, because obviously you're on stage, you're having to pitch a random note from pluck it out of the air. So we got this thing that she pressed, like this synth string that would come out so I could tune. And then I just started singing the song, and I was like, oh my god! But it was the most thrilling experience, and it was just a joy. And she's an amazing person to be around as well, amazing energy. So like rehearsal thing was really cool with her, and working together, everyone. God, we've done so many things. Going to Singapore, we performed part of like kind of the F1 thing. That was an amazing trip. Um, I don't know. There's so many highlights. Kylie and Jason for a random one as well in the Hyde Park. That was just like, what are we actually doing? Is this real? Is this my life? I'm singing especially for you, with the choir, with Kylie, and with Jason. And that was a huge crowd and televised. So it was like, wow. But I think with choir, the main thing is it's the connection. I mean, for me, performing, it's always the connection and that exchange of energy, which is so magic. That's why I love to perform so much. But with choir, you really get these amazing stories. Like you said yourself, like reaching out, people reach out and say, how they've been affected, and um, just the messages of the song are so empowering and so positive. Um, and then that joyful noise of like all those voices together, and then the energy of the house element in it as well. Like you can't help but be affected by that in an amazing way. And we've had people in tears, people laughing, people, it's mad, because on the flip side, we've got like our rehearsals every week, and you're working hard and you're putting in the work, and you're sweating, and you're like, right, come on, learn the parts and do this and do that. And then you get up on stage and you like just like pour yourself out there. And then, for you, that's your job done. But then you realize afterwards the kind of the ripples of it. When you get all these messages and you hear from people, and you're like, oh wow, that's important work. And it's a beautiful thing to be part of.
Yeah, it really is. And mate, it's I get it's a different energy when I go there. You know, everyone I've spoken to that I've sort of dragged along to various events, or other people that have seen me and they've texted me and gone, "Oh my god, I just saw that choir you keep bloody going on about. Oh, they're so good." It's like, yeah, I fucking told you, like they are that good. And yeah, man, I'm so happy you guys have just constantly and continuously just stepped it up a level. The album was great. I haven't actually managed to sit down and listen to the remix album yet. Is it? I think it's Required. Is the remix album. Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. It's definitely on the playlist. And yeah, I messaged you guys a couple of times just to say how great the set was, but you know, you touched on it there. There was one time, Southport Weekender, when they did it in Finsbury Park a couple of years ago. When I booked the tickets, I booked them to cheer myself up from being in like a sort of a 6 month slump, and it was really crap. And we got there, I think you guys were on at like either 2 or 3 o'clock, and we got there like 20 minutes to spare, ran to the bar, grabbed a drink, ran straight to the tent just as you came on. And yeah, we were blown away. And I had loads of friends there that I'd never, again, you know, they'd never heard you guys, they'd never seen you guys. And they were in the tent as well. And then when we all sort of like went out for a breather after your set, they were just like, yeah, okay, yeah, that was like the highlight of the day, basically. So but yeah, that's when I had to message you, and I think I messaged Mons and a couple of other people. I was just like, look, thank you for today. Like, it wasn't for me, but I took it as if it was for me, and it was great. So yeah, that does happen, man. It really does happen. And it's good to hear an artist that, you know, and a group that actually understand that, because sometimes it's just a little bit like you feel like you're saying, you know, you're showing your appreciation and it's kind of going into the ether, and people would never really know quite how much what you do means to them, but it does. And I'm glad you recognize it, man. It's really great. So obviously with HGC and the tours and everything, one thing I wanted to ask about was how hectic the rehearsals are. You mentioned rehearsals and we were just speaking, but how hectic is that, and how much is it to manage with so many of you guys? And I know you've got like a core set, but you seem to have people that, you know, come and go, and different people work with you at different times. How hard is it to manage those rehearsal sessions?
Do you know what? Rehearsals are crazy and amazing and nuts. They're therapy sessions. There's just tears, there's laughter, there's sweat. There's all of that rolled into one. And you know, we've been working together now, most of us, the kind of core team, for like a long time. So there's, you know, the familiarity there, and you just kind of, everyone fits into their roles, and everyone, we all do it. And you know, Harry, the MD, and Nat, and you know, Daniel Thomas, choir director, and like, you know, all these amazing characters and personas that all just mix to make this kind of this beautiful energy. And this, yeah, it really is like therapy a lot of the time. And I think, again, going back to, all links into like the messages of the songs that we sing, it like, sometimes we're there and we just, you really hear the lyrics and you're like, oh wow. And there's days where you know, they might just hit a different way and you're like, oh wow. And you know, you will need picked up because you'll be a mess on the floor. And that's what's really great, having, working with such a big team of people, because everyone's there to pick you up. And then the next week it might be someone else's turn to be picked up, and you know, that's what we're all there for. So as much as it's great here and it connects with you guys, it's actually, it does that for us as well.
Yeah.
um and that's the power of music, and
Yeah.
that's what's so special about it. And I think, going back to that as well, like I said, with performance, it's that, the magic of that connection. So you know, there's all the different elements of it and all the different layers, and like, you hustle in the studio and you record, and that's a whole other beast. And then you get to the stage, and that's where you really get to share it in that energy. And when you hit on a really amazing example, which was Southport Weekender at Finsbury Park that year, it was such an amazing gig. Like, that's, I know for a lot of the guys in choir, that's still a highlight, because of something just aligned and was just right in that moment. That entire tent was in synergy with the stage and us all on it, and it just clicked. And it was wild. Like, we came off that stage, we were on such a high, And we were walking around afterwards, like going on all the rides and stuff, and people were running up to us going, "Oh my God, amazing!" And you're like, "Yeah," because we were still on a high as well. We're like, "Yeah, woo!" And it just worked. It was like, because what we do as well, we've done a lot of festivals, and some of them, they're more bandy festivals, and that's great. I mean, it's cool to be part of those, but the audience isn't necessarily, they don't really know about the music that we do, so they've maybe not heard it before. But there, you've got all these house heads that are like, seasoned, um,
Anoraks, half of them.
yeah, like they know that they know the music, they know it. So that's almost like more pressure, because they're like, yeah, I know this track, I know every remix, I know every vocalist has done it, and they're like, come on, man, show us what you got. And then we do it, and they're like, oh, yes, and you're like, okay, cool, you got it, we vibed, and there was this whole thing, yeah.
You just described my friends, basically. The majority of people I hang around with are DJs or have worked in the music industry. So yeah, that's pretty much how that day went for us, actually.
Yeah.
It was great, and I was really happy. I'm a big Southport Weekender fan. I mean, I don't have tattoos, but if I did, SPW might be one of them. And I've been to quite a few of their events when they were doing the actual weekenders, and obviously the day festivals as well. And I remember when they first came back, and I think 6 months after they first come back was the first time I saw you guys, and I was like, they have to, like, they're just a perfect fit for that event. Like, it's just, and yeah, I know it's supposed to be, I know they're doing one in September this year. I'm not sure if you guys are on that or if you're on the one that they're doing in March next year, but if it's the September one this year, I think I'll be front and center again. So I look forward to it. Yeah, so HGC, absolutely killing it. Before we move on to your solo stuff, I've seen today that you guys have got a billboard. What the hell is going on? Where is it? Where is this billboard?
Do you know what? I don't know yet, because we've been posting it. We have like WhatsApp groups. We're like posting about it, going, "Oh my God, we're on a billboard." So yeah, this billboard, we had one up the middle of last year, but it was only up for a few days, and then they've put this one up for the actual album. That was for Black History Month, I think, the first one, if I recall properly. And then this one's like the ad for the album, which is really cool. So it's nuts. I have not actually seen it because I'm up in Edinburgh now. So I've not gotten to see it in real life, but it's been amazing seeing everyone's like posting clips of it and like running up against it. So
Yeah, I've seen it. I was had the biggest smile on my face and just thought, it's just coincidental that you happen to be jumping on the show on the same day. I've seen that. It's pretty cool.
yeah,
So yeah, HGC obviously a huge part of what you do, but your solo stuff is, in the last 6 to 8 months alone has just sort of gone leaps and bounds. And I was so happy when I saw that you were working with Sire, who was sort of an inspiration for me when I was a teenager. I've known Sire a very long time, and a really cool guy. We spoke about how you guys sort of met, obviously, and he was telling me how he's been looking for a vocalist since, I think it was Cleveland, since he's not been working with
yeah.
Cleveland. And he was saying that you were the perfect fit, and I totally agree. What was the thought process when Sai hit you up? Was were you just immediately straight on it, or was it just more of a casual thing for you?
Not at all. So for me, like, I'm always up for collaborating with new people. I'm always on the lookout for new people to work with, and new adventures, really, just to see what you can make. Because there's nothing better, I think, than when you get together with one, two, three, four people, and bring all that you have to the table, and then see what all that can fit together and make. So I always love that. Like, for me, I'm always up to speak to anyone, whoever it is. I'm never like, oh, how many followers do you have, or is this going to be on a major label? It's like, for me, it really boils down to what the product is, what the music is, and if I vibe on it, I'm always up for doing something together. And yes, we met on his radio show when the choir went in, and we did this live session, and we got chatting on Insta after, and then I was kind of finding out more about him, and he was like, "Oh yeah, we should do some stuff together." And then a few months passed, and I hadn't heard, and I was like, it's one of those things like, should I message him again? I don't want to annoy him. Like, just leave it. Will I wait? Will I play it cool? And then we got chatting, and it ended up being almost at the start of lockdown. So he was like, "Yeah, man, I got this track. I'm going to send it over to you." And he sent me What Is Now, What in the World. And I heard it and I was like, oh, I love this vibe. It's so up my street and the soulfulness of it. And I was like, right, I need to write. So I'd set up my home studio, like I bought a mic in and everything, because usually I'd always go out to a studio to record. I was like, right, set myself up, and I went up and I was like, right. And obviously we were just at the start of this lockdown thing, and I'm like, what in the world is going on? What's happening? And it literally was that simple, and it just came out. The chorus just fell out of my face. It was just like, bleh. There, done, loving it. It works. This is what it's going to be. And it wrote itself. It was really easy to write because it was so of the moment and really how I was feeling and how everyone was feeling, I think. And the track just built up and built up. And then we got Cleveland and Lizzie on the BBs as well, which was amazing. And yeah, it was a really amazing experience. And then we got to know each other a lot more as well. And then it was just this beautiful exchange of energy with us as too, like getting to know each other in that way, because it was still very much just all online. I'm really grateful that we met just on a personal level, because he's such a great guy that you know yourself. He's just a beautiful energy to be around. And what was funny was we met each other at very kind of crucial points in both our lives. Like I was very much at a point where I'd kind of forgotten about me a little bit, like about who I was or what I was capable of. And it's just one of those troughs moment. I'd been in a peak and I'd gone into a trough, because you know, being an artist is tough going, because you don't have a boss telling you like, you know, yes, you can do this. Or some people are lucky they have managers. I don't. I've always done it on my own. So to be your own kind of motivation all the time, it's kind of shit sometimes, and sometimes you're kind of down. So we met at one of my down points, which was really cool to have that experience. And I had the time again to write, which was great. Well, enforced, because obviously we're in lockdown. So I was rediscovering that whole side of myself in a really kind of pure and basic way again, and just loved the process of it. And then he really connected to what I'd written too. So yeah, it was kind of quite a great moment of planets aligning, putting us together, and then this track coming out, and then What in the World came out, and which was amazing to have the feedback we did on it. And then moving on from there, we got Raise You Up, which just came out as well, which has been really great. And that Raise You Up, so I wrote that late summer, and we were kind of finessing it along the way, and there was other sort of bits and pieces, and there's like about, I don't know, another 3 tracks in the pipeline as well. We've been working hard. But I got hit quite hard by the whole current pandemic thing, where my dad passed in November. So things got a bit dark, and I suddenly found myself back up in Edinburgh after being in London and with family and in this horrible situation. And Sai sent me this message. I'm sure you won't mind me telling you. He basically just sort of reached out and just was really supportive through the whole time. But he sent me a clip of Raise You Up, and it was a kind of intense moment, because suddenly I was singing back to myself these words about, you know, I know you're down right now, but I'm going to lift you up. And it was a really surreal moment of, you know, you write something and suddenly it takes on this whole other meaning for you. And it was really beautiful. It was like, you know, we're still connected through this music. And it was really important for me to hear those words. It still is. Like, it's weird how I've pretty much written it. I was writing it for someone else, because it's about I kind of wrote it for friends. It's like, you know, I see that you're down and you've helped me up in my time of need, but now it's my time to raise you up, and together we can make it through. And suddenly it was like, actually, I'm saying it to myself. It was like, you know, you need to help yourself, raise yourself up, and obviously have friends around you as well that are doing that for you. But
I think it's important. It's something that I've said often through life, and you know, we've all had our struggles, not just in the last year. Obviously, yours are pretty pretty high level struggles, man. It's not great. To say the least. But yeah, it's something I've always spoken about when during my own struggles and stuff over the various years is everyone tends to be their own worst enemy sometimes. And I think that
Yeah.
I think it's really important to be your own best friend as well. So being able to write a song for someone else, but also for yourself during the time that's, quite possibly one of the hardest things you're ever going to have to go through in life. Mate, I think it's the most beautiful way to deal with it, and something amazing's come out of it that's also again going to touch so many people, myself included. It's a beautiful thing, and what an amazing story for that track, man. It's such a great song.
Thank you, man. I'm really proud of it. I'm really happy we got it out, and like so humbled and honored for it to be the first track on Psy's label as well.
It works with the name of the label though as well, which is brilliant.
Yeah. It was one of those kind of synergistic moments, which was really cool. And yeah, it's just sort of hustling and pushing forward with it all, and just it is again, it goes back to the power of music and how you can listen to a track. For me, like there's different ways of listening to music. You can just listen to it and like, yeah, that's a cool groove, and you bop along, you're like, yeah, that's cool. But then you can listen to the layers of it, and it's like if someone wants to, then they can dive deeper in. They might still they might like the melody, and they're like la 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 la, they'll hum along and they'll still, that's all good. But then you get someone that actually listens to the lyric, and that's why lyrics are so important to me anyway. Like you're telling a story, and to have messages in there that can actually help or like speak someone's feelings out loud for them, or like give them a kind of idea that they're not the only one that feels like that. They're not weird for feeling that way. There's a light at the end of the tunnel. You can reach out to someone else. Like all those things. It's a really beautiful thing to be able to do. And a big part of why I do what I do is that, to have that connection, and for people to get in touch and be like, wow, that they really connect to that lyric or that story or that message. Like that's an amazing thing. Like what what a beautiful thing to be able to connect with someone on that kind of level, where we're all so busy in life, hustling and running around head down, especially in somewhere like London. It's so busy, everyone's like barely say anything to anyone. So then to be able to create something that makes that connection happen is fucking amazing, really.
It's important, and sadly it's something that we've all missed out on in the last year. It's been trying and testing for so many of us. I've spoken about it on the podcast. I've lost relatives to COVID myself, and a colleague and stuff, and it's just been awful. It's just been bloody crap for so many of us. But you know as what in the world says, you need the rain for the flowers to grow, and hopefully out of this horrible time, some beautifulness will continue to grow, especially in the form of music. And mate, it's those tracks in particular. It's weird because last summer I was doing okay, but then I heard What in the World, and it was just like it put things into a different perspective. As you heard on episode 1, I was telling Si, I was on a bus going from Fulham to Westminster, and I just played it on repeat for like half an hour. The first time I heard it, I was like, oh my god. And then Raise You Up, as in the last couple of weeks myself, I'm done. I'm so fucking done with this lockdown stuff now. I'm just like, I have had enough. I want to go back to my job. I don't want to do work from home anymore. I want to see people. I don't want to sit here and do this on Zoom with you. I want to sit with a cup of tea in the studio and do it, like that kind of thing. And yeah, hearing Raise You Up, and that coming out in the last couple of weeks is, again, it's one of those moments where it's just like, yeah, we're gonna do this. It's all good. And being able to sit here and talk to you about it, and hear that it is normal to feel like that and stuff. Hearing it from the artist's perspective it's quite warming, mate. I've got that warm fuzzy feeling that only music can give. I think it's a really great feeling. So Raise You Up is out now on Raising Records. Sending a big shout out to Sy Sez, and to all of the crew over at Raising. My old friend Wes Wint is bringing out a great record on there as well this week. So yeah, massive things for Sy, hopefully with the label, and hopefully I hear a lot more collaborations. As you say, you've got a couple of tracks in the works, been working hard.
I'm in the pipeline. Because it's really cool. Just keep working with the same person, because you get to develop together in a way, and to start working on something like a sound. And the tracks coming up as well, they're very different from the other two, which is cool. Oh, sorry. Very different from the other two tracks as well. So yeah, I'm excited to get them out.
So with the stuff that you've currently got out, the latest release is with I didn't see it coming. It sort of hit me from left field. It's like
I don't think anybody did.
we're talking when we talk about like real legends of house music. There's a lot of names you can reel off. There's a lot of names that people have heard, but there's also names that are under aliases, and have various different ones. And Kings of Tomorrow, aka Sandy Rivera, is one of those people that has performed under so many different names, but everything he does just seems to be magic. He's actually been responsible for producing several of my favorite all-time tracks. How the hell did that collaboration come about, and the latest single that you guys have put out?
So let's flash back 20 years, and one of the big tracks that really caught me was finally Kings of Tomorrow. And I was like, that track, still now, every fucking time I hear it, just floors me. I'm just like, this tune. So that for me already was just like, what in the world is happening right now? It was literally plug. So I just reached out. I reached out on Insta, and I was like, hey, Sandy. He just released White Flag with Alex Mills.
Oh my God. It's a great record. Yeah.
Such a tune. So I know Alex through kind of mutual friends, and we've hung out a little bit. And I heard randomly, I think Sai played White Flag on the Clubify set that we did together, me and Sai, the live stream thing. And so I was like, I think I tagged him in a post or something, and then I messaged, and I was like, oh, hey man, if you're ever looking for a male vocalist, because that's the thing in house music, there's a lot of female vocalists. It's quite female heavy, which is great because there's some amazing vocalists. So, but normally from my experience, like house producers tend to they're attracted more to like a more female vocal on tracks. So I was like, hey man, if you ever fancy having a male vocal on a track, let me know. And he's like, yeah, well, let's do something. I was like, huh? Okay. And then the same, like at the time had passed, and he was like, oh, well, I'm just getting my album finished up and I'm getting that out, so let me get that out of the way. And I was like, okay, cool. So a couple months passed, I was like, should I message again? No message. I'm like, fuck, I'm gonna message. So I'm like, hey Sandy, do you remember you wanted to do the track? Do you want to know, let's do something like that? And then he's like, yeah man. So I sent him some things I'd already written. So we started working on this track around about Christmas time, just gone. And then so we're back and forth working on this track together. And then he called me up one day and he's like, right, I've got this track, I've got this idea, just hear me out. And I'm like, okay. And he's like, right, Billie Jean? I'm like, uh-huh. He's like, right, I've got this beat, and I think it'd be really cool to do Billie Jean on it. Have a listen, I'm going to send you the link. So he sent me the link, and I was like, oh yeah, I hear it. So I went home and I recorded this like rough version of it, and then realized it's about 1,200 keys higher than the original. So when it came to the chorus, I was like, oh geez. And I hadn't been singing for that much for the past sort of 5 months prior to this, because obviously everything that was going on, and so my voice wasn't up to scratch. So I was just like, oh, this is a struggle. So I sent it over, and he's like, yeah man, we can make this work. So we put it together, and it was supposed to be a free track. We were going to put it out for free. And then Sandy ended up doing an interview with this guy in Germany called DJ Twism. And he's like, oh man, I want to release this. Don't put it out. So he ended up signing it to his label Soul Legends. And then, yeah, it came out like last week. Yeah, we could go today. Yeah. Tomorrow. We go tomorrow. Which is nuts. So that's out now exclusively on Tracksource and Spotify.
I think by the time this podcast drops, it will probably be everywhere. I think so. Yeah. No, it's a great track, and yeah, as soon as I heard it, I went, "Excuse me." So that's cheeky. No, yeah, it's a really, really great track, and yeah, as you say, finally for me is. it's really difficult because I don't like to say I've got a favorite track or something like that. I mean, there's one track for me that stands head and shoulders above every other record ever made, and that's the album mix of the Braxton's The Boss Masters at Work album mix. That for me is the greatest record that's ever been made. Nothing will ever touch it. But underneath that, there's so many house records that I can never sum up. And it's funny because I was talking to, you know, Calico, who did the filming at My Soul. We go way back to like from DJing and stuff. And he was talking about interviewing me on his YouTube channel for the podcast and, you know, doing some back and forth. And he sent me a list of questions, and it was just like, you know, have a think on this, and, you know, what would you like to say? And one of them was favorite house vocalists. And whilst I haven't got a favorite house track, for me, undeniably, my favorite house vocalist is Julie McKnight. And obviously, Finally is a big part of that. But, you know, Home and Diamond Life and just so many ridiculously big tracks that she's been on. And if you've ever seen her perform live, she sounds like, I think the greatest compliment I could ever give someone who's a performing artist is they sound identical to the record, but better.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
and when I've heard her live, usually it's been at Southport about 4 or 5 times. She's sounded just like her records, but up. You know that old phrase of turn it up to 11. You know, she's like that, but it's impeccable, absolutely impeccable. And yeah, you know, the fact that, you know, you're now on Sandy Rivera tracks when, you know, she was one of the people that kind of, you know, made that, well, she made that record famous, at least. The Kings of Tomorrow
Yeah.
Finally track is it's crazy. It's like a mad connection, man.
It's nuts. It is really nuts. And like, so that record for me, like I said to Sandy as well, I was like, this is a lot of pressure. Like, I was chatting to my mate, like, first of all, it's with Sandy Rivera. That's number one. Second of all, it's a Michael Jackson song. And I'm like, this is a lot of things. And I was trying to stay calm, and I was like, right, I'm recording this. And when I was doing it, like I did not want it to sound like a karaoke record, like a bad karaoke. As in, for my part, not from Sandy's part. I just didn't want the vocal to sound like a really amateur, bad karaoke thing. You know the type that you get in like the supermarket. You get people like they do the covers in the supermarket. And I was like, I did not want to sound like one of those singers trying to sing Michael Jackson. So I tried really hard to make it mine, to like put a twist on it, the arrangement as well. I tried really hard to sort of tweak it enough to make it my own, but not too much to ruin the original, like what people love about the original. And hopefully I've done it. I'm really proud of what we've done. I love it. And you know, Sandy's production and like vocal production on it, I think is fucking amazing. But yeah, feedback so far has been great. So I'm really excited to sort of have it out and see where it goes.
If anyone hasn't heard it, I'm going to post the link to a lot of Raff stuff on the bio of the podcast episode. So if you're listening on Spotify or iTunes, you can just scroll through and be able to tap the link, and it will direct you to his latest releases. So I'll make sure to do that. Speaking of, as I say, Sandy Rivera's had various aliases over the years. Where did you get the name His Bitter Truth?
His Bitter Truth. So I've been doing. So I was speaking before about, like, you know, having an eclectic taste in music, and it's always been rooted in soul, but I've done so many different things over the years. And I always went under Raff, which is my name. And I'd put out so many different things. I put out like solo stuff and collabs and like, you know, techno stuff and deep house stuff, like so many different things. And I'd done so much over so long that it just started getting a bit muddy. And I got to the point where I was like, do you know what? I want to start from scratch. And I wanted to just do something brand new with a focus on something different, and just to kind of revive myself more than anything. And the name, I don't know, you know, I don't really know where I got it from. It just, oh, actually, yeah, no, I do remember where I got it from. So I remember having a conversation a very long time ago. I don't think I've told Charlene this. So another amazing vocalist, Charlene Hector. She sings with Basement Jaxx and does amazing stuff as well. I remember I was DJing one night in this little bar in Shoreditch, and she came along, we're having a wee dance, and we were chatting about being an artist and, you know, how hard it is, and we're talking about, you know, trying to motivate yourself. And I remember she said to me, he's like, but don't let it make you bitter. And I was like, oh, love, that ship has sailed. I was like, oh, it's way too late. And I ended up writing a song with this guy in New York that I collabed with. It never got finished, sadly, but it was called Bitter Get the Better. And it was about don't let the bitter get the better of you. And I kind of like the idea of this, because I'm quite a visual person. So I've always got kind of full shebang in my head when I'm like thinking about stuff like how the show will look, what the band is, da, da, da. So I kind of like the idea of like, ladies and gentlemen, his bitter truth. And that just really resonated for me. I wanted it to be faceless at first as well, and not be about me or who I am or what I look like. Or I just wanted to be about the voice, the music, and that's it. So make it more anonymous. So at the start, I didn't have my face on anything. I didn't have my face on the Insta or anything like that as well. It was just very much the music and just random images and things. And yeah, it came out from that really, and just that want for something new and something a bit different from everything else that I'd done. And I'm really glad that I did. I wasn't sure how it was going to go, and like starting from scratch is scary as well. Like on socials, you're starting from like 0 followers, and today's is all about followers and socials and stuff like that. So building that up again, having done so much of that with Raff, music like Raff and all the stuff I'd done under that name. But yeah, it's been great, and now it's sort of been snowballing, like different releases with different people, and also doing stuff on my own solo stuff that I want to release under that. And then on top of that, I'm still working on other music under other names. So during lockdown, I ended up starting a new band, a trio. So we kind of did the bar restaurant-y scene before lockdown happened, and we used to do like covers and all that kind of thing. So the keys player went back to New Zealand. Me and the drummer were in London, and then we were like, "Oh, let's do something. Let's like do a cover, record a cover or something like that." And then the keys player ended up. He's like an amazing multi-instrumentalist, and he ended up doing this wicked beat. And he sent me the first track we did. Actually, he sent me was an idea for a cover, and it was "God Only Knows" the Beach Boys.
Okay.
It's this really like amazing kind of soul-y, jazzy kind of interpretation of it. And I was like, he's like, "Oh, do you fancy singing on this?" I'm like, "Yeah, man, fine, I'll do it. I'm at home, I'm not doing anything else. Let's do it." And then suddenly we've got that done, and we've got about 5 other originals we ended up doing. So we've now started this new trio called And in the Quiet. So I'm all about these obscure names now. So and in the quiet, it kind of comes from that whole, when the world went quiet, we ended up creating this thing. So this music came out of this moment of change, and
I get a feeling so if you can build more aliases, you could make your own story. So, and in the quiet, his bitter truth. I think there's a paragraph coming here somewhere.
well, I'm gonna have to do that now. And in the quiet is bitter truth. Yes. What can the next line be? I'll have to think about that. But yeah, it's just exciting to me to like do different things, and I'll probably still release bits under Raff. But just now I'm sort of really focused on his bitter truth and this other project, And in the Quiet. Hopefully getting something out on that really soon. Yeah.
So what's the next steps? Have you got bookings as his bitter truth coming up later in this year? Is there anything planned? And obviously, is there anything planned of HGC later in the year as well?
So yeah, life is very different for me right now. Because of what happened with family, I'm now up in Edinburgh, and I'm doing working in the family business, doing property stuff and things. So so I'm looking at like tile samples and buying tile adhesive and meeting builders and doing all this kind of crazy stuff. At the same time, releasing music with Sandy Rivera and releasing music with Sandy Sez, and it's like, well,
It's still really good that you're able to do some kind of day job though, especially during a time like this. Because as I say, man, this working from home lark is
yeah.
not. It was great for a little bit, but now it's just
Yeah.
it's not great. But yeah, so you're clearly keeping busy, but yeah,
Yeah.
what are the short-term plans?
Short term, it literally is just writing and recording because I can do that from where I am at home. Down the line, do you know what? I kind of don't even want to plan anything down the line because it's so unclear and we keep chopping and changing. It's
Yeah.
like disappointment. Like people are like booking holidays and then having to refund them or like postpone. I'm like, why do that to yourself? It's just stressful. Just wait.
We do you know what we did? I was so stressed. We went it was my girlfriend's birthday in August, and obviously last summer things did get to a stage where everything had really calmed down, and she was her 30th birthday. She wasn't really going to be able to do anything with her friends because you weren't really, supposed to have indoor gatherings and stuff like
Yeah.
that. So I said to her, look, we both need a break. She works in the NHS, so she's been, at the cold face of all of this shit. So I booked us a trip to Italy, and it was like the only country that wasn't on the list, and it had the lowest COVID numbers, and I'd never been. So it was just like leading up, like the 2 or 3 weeks in the build up to us leaving, another country got put on the list, then another country, then Spain, then this, and it was just like completely shitting myself until the time that we actually finally managed to fly out. The second we got on that plane, I was like, I don't care if we have to quarantine when we get back, we'll do it. I don't care. We're going. That's it. We're gone. So yeah, it was totally stressful, man. Just trying to plan anything. It was just like I lost like way more hair than I care to even think of. But yeah, I'm happy we did it. But no, I'm with you. It's trying to actually get anything together it's scary, man. It really is, and even worse now, given what we've just been through over Christmas and stuff. It's just awful.
I mean, I'm kind of just taking it for me right now. It's a day by day thing. I'm literally just waking up and getting through the day, and um, it's been amazing and really cathartic for me to have these releases to kind of keep me busy and to keep me sort of moving forward and to keep me up really. And I've still been doing a bit of writing, but it's kind of a bit harder right now to get into that just headspace wise and trying to find trying to find those windows where that's open to me that I can sit down and write something and record. So there's bits and there's bits in the pipeline, still remnants from like all the work I was doing last year because I was just like a writing machine last year, just doing all these pitches and like all these things. So there's a few singles sort of in already ready to come out, which is cool. But it's so weird. Like I look back, when Insta throws you back, like this time last year, this was
Yeah,
recorded. And I look back and I'm like, actually, it doesn't seem like it's me. It's
no.
really weird. Like I see myself on these stages performing, and I'm like, I did that. Weird. That's mad. And it is a head fuck. And I I kind of pray I get back to that. Just now I can't even see it. I kind of it's too it's too much really to even sort of even start to think about that. So I just, like I said, I'm taking it day by day, which is what I recommend to everyone because a lot of my musician mates are all like, oh, we've got these new dates and we're excited. I'm like, I'm not being pessimistic, but just brace yourself because
Yeah.
we've seen nothing really going to plan so far. But just be prepared. And my kind of way of getting through most of this was just to try and normalize that this is just how it is. So do the most with what you have available to you.
Yeah.
Because if you're constantly pining about what you don't have, which is, it's a big thing in life that I learned anyways. Like if you're constantly going, oh, I don't have this or I don't have that, you're just going to waste your fucking life because you're just like constantly like, ugh. But if you take a moment and appreciate what it is that you do have, what you can do, what is available to you, and I know easier said than done, but if you do put more energy into that side of thinking, it really helps you. I think um, it can really navigate you through this horrible, horrible, shitty, horrible time.
Yeah.
um,
No,
so
it's
yeah,
true, and I'd like to just say quickly whilst we're here that if anyone is feeling at the end of their tether with what's currently going on, first of all, I would like to say that better days are coming. We don't know when, and they probably will fuck up a couple of times before they do come, but they are coming. But also, if anyone's feeling too dark or too down, the Samaritan's number's always open, and also if you wanted to ever shoot the shit my email is always open, the over the hill podcast at gmail.com. I mentioned the email address because I also I'm going to be starting a session probably on the next episode. I think we've just missed out, called the Confession Sessions, which I'm encouraging people to email in just anything that they've never been able to confess fully, and get myself and my guest will be judging them to the harshest of extents. And also we're going to do a dilemma section as well. So we'll hopefully get you on for another episode and do some of that with you. So yeah, but yeah, going back to it, anyone who's feeling in crisis, the Samaritan's always there. And you know, as we've said on the show, better days are coming, and hopefully soon, because I'm a little bit done with it all myself as well, outside of the COVID stuff and music and everything else. Pre-pandemic times, normal life, what are your interests outside of performing and music?
God, to be honest, I never really had time for interests. I work hard. I work really hard. I do so many different things. I do like choir. I'm the music curator for a members club in Soho. I do like vocal coaching. I do like so many different things that I don't often have much time to myself. But I've been doing a lot of yoga, which has been really good because I've always wanted to get into it more for the kind of mindfulness aspect of it.
It
I like,
kicks your ass as well. Yoga absolutely kicks your ass.
yeah, yeah. There's moments where like I'm never going to make that shape, but I've now slowly, after a long time, managed to kind of do things that I didn't think I could do. I'm still very basic, don't get me wrong, but I'm like, oh, cool, I can like balance on that leg now, or like I can actually vaguely reach my toes, which is always a treat. What else do I do? I love drawing as well. I used to do for the mindfulness aspect of it. I used to do a lot of life drawing classes. Drawing, I would never model. And I would just love because for like 3 hours I would completely zone out and just like disappear into the page with my pencils and yeah, just finding that time, that quiet. I keep plugging myself. It's great. And in the quiet, you find these moments where you just to kind of really still your mind, because especially being somewhere like London, it can get really manic. And doing something like what I do, which is, you know, you're constantly hustling, you're constantly like promoting yourself and always on, always on, always on, is really important. And I sort of discovered that a lot last year because I did it, you know, suddenly I had all this time on my hands to kind of put more effort into it, of like really working on myself, working on my like just mental health, really, in the sense that, you know, you're taking that time out to just really take stock of what it is that you're doing. Because for me at least, you know, you do one thing and you're straight onto the next thing. There's never that moment for you to like appreciate it or like have that moment and go, oh, I'm really proud of that. I'm like proud of myself for doing that. Which is so important to do, I think, because it's all about the journey, right? So, you know, you waste, not waste, you spend all this time, you know, constantly like next thing, next thing, next thing. And you're like, God, wait, there's all these moments that I'm completely missing because I'm so busy looking at what's next that, you know, you do yourself a disservice. So taking time out, that's what I was using these things for, like just to really take a time out and breathe and really relax, which I didn't often get to do.
No, it's important to take time out. And it's like you say with London life, it's something I've been struggling with as of late. I mean, I was born in London, I've always lived here, I'm so used to it, it's part of who I am. But like I'd always have that opportunity to go and see family that live down in like Devon and other places, and you know, kind of get away. And obviously, we've not been able to do that for over a year now. But it was nice when we went away. It was nice. I think I finally felt relaxed and at peace when we got to Lake Como when we were in Italy, and we were just
Yeah.
able to jump on a boat and just go out. And there was people around and stuff. We were on this ferry, and but it didn't feel like there was. It just kind of felt like it was us. And Si mentioned on episode 1 he loves being around the water, and I'm exactly the same. If you stick me, I mean, I live 2 seconds away from the Thames, which is cool, but it's also very busy around here. But yeah, if you put me on like on a lake on a boat, even if I'm just on my own, I'll just be the happiest person on the planet at that time. And I think that was the one time I sort of stopped last summer when we got out there. I sat on the boat and I was just like, just like that decompress of like, shit, man, like I'm living in this absolute rat race, and sometimes I don't realize the toll it takes on me. So yeah, totally relatable. Have you been it's a question I've been asking a few of my guests. Have you done any Netflix binging while you've been in solitude? Or
Oh God. Well, at the start, I was making these silly cooking videos to pass the time, so that was fun. And then I was making a banana loaf almost one every couple of days, which was not good. Living on your own, having a whole banana loaf there staring at you. But whilst I was eating the banana loaf, I was doing lots of Netflixing. Sure, that's a word.
yeah,
Um, Binging lots of series. It's all kind of merged into one now. But yeah, there's been some amazing shows out there, um, which is crazy. Well, see, we're on the cusp of a rant. So, so we were binging on all this amazing talent and all this entertainment, and then the people that create this stuff were completely just shat on by
yeah,
the government,
yeah.
and they had the balls to tell people, oh, you should retrain. Unbelievable.
Yeah, we've spoken about it a couple of times on this podcast. I had a guy on episode 3 called Simon Harkness who works for a company called It's Gone Viral, and they interview a lot of celebrities and stuff. I mean, just before my podcast, he interviewed Leslie Mann, and yesterday he put out a video of him interviewing Ken Jeong from The Hangover, and he's part of the new Tom and Jerry movie. I'm just like, well, I'm sandwiched in between two Hollywood superstars. This is fantastic. But yeah, we were talking about it, and he was just talking about the cinema industry and stuff, because obviously he goes to a lot of screenings and
Yeah.
things like that. And yeah, we were just saying, why didn't you retrain as a carer? And it's just like, who the fuck are you? Like, what's going on here? So yeah, that whole retrain business, that pissed me off no end. Like, really did. I couldn't
I
believe
did
it.
the quiz on the government website. I don't know if you did, but I was like, right, let me see what the fuck this is all about. So I went on, and I think one of the things it told me to retrain as was a stunt man. I was like, really, Boris? Really, a stunt man? That's what you think I should be? I think that's not a very good idea. No.
No, but it is the next line in our paragraph of, and in the quiet, his bitter truth, a stunt man.
With a stunt. I mean, it's just dumb. It really, like that's the tricky head fucky part of it all. Like,
I think Liam Gallagher got a bricklayer or something like that. I think he was told to retrain as a.
oh Lord. But yeah, no, I was saying, like, it's hard to not spiral and like get lost in all that anger with regards to all that. So I've tried really hard to kind of switch off from all of it and not tune in and not pay mind to it, because it's just not healthy. And
No.
all you do is just get angry. What's the fucking point of that? That's hard enough.
Yeah, it really is. Well, hopefully it gets a little bit better. Hopefully it gets a lot better for you, especially when you can finally come back down, and hopefully we can have another one of these conversations over a cup of tea or several bottles of expensive wine, or whatnot. So yeah, hopefully we can do that. Maybe even sit down on a round table with Si and a few other people and shoot the shit when you're back. And it's been great to actually be able to sit and have a conversation with you about this stuff. Some really cool little inside tidbits about the HDC, which have made my week. I'm not going to lie. Where can people get in touch with you and stuff, and where can people hear your music?
So I mainly just use Insta, to be honest. So I've got at Raff Music, which is my kind of main one, and then at His Bitter Truth. And then on both of those in the bio, there are links to all my releases.
Cool.
But yeah, I post a lot on there, like, well, not as much nowadays because life's a bit boring, but I post about all my news coming up, and follow at and in the quiet as well, because that's going to be this exciting new project, which is coming very, very soon. yeah, they can find out more about that. They can reach out, say hi. I'm always happy to speak to people and say hello. And yeah.
Cool. Well, yeah, Raff, it's been a privilege to have you on, man. It's been really, really great. Loving the work, loving everything you've been doing. Also, if you do check out Raff's Instagram, check out the videos of him blasting out various tunes, and he's got his own Raff quartet and Raff choir on there as well. Sometimes I've noticed the layered videos are really, 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 really cool. So I might actually nick some of the audio and stick a little clip of you singing in the intro to this podcast. Actually, I think I might treat people to that. But yeah, mate, thank you so much for coming on the Over the Hill podcast episode 6, I think this is. So yeah, it's been great. And as I say, hopefully when you're back, we can sit down over a few drinks with, maybe Sy and a few others and shoot the shit for real. Just not too many drinks, because I tend to open my mouth about things I shouldn't say. So
well, look, man, thank you so much for having me on, and it really is an honor to be on, and thank you so much for all your support as well. It means a lot.
No, you're welcome. Guys, that was Raff, aka His Bit of Truth, and you've been listening to the Over the Hill podcast. Thank you very much.